Appointed time and place and seeing a quorum present, I'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. I'll note that all commission members are present except for Mr. Blanky. And from staff, we have the water systems manager and the public works director present. Our first item is comments and suggestions from citizens present, both in person and online. If there's anyone who would like to address the commission at this time, ask that you step forward to the microphone and give your name and address for the record, please. And keep your remarks to about 3 minutes. Thank you.
My name is Mary Ann Whelan. I live at 1612 Lakeside Terrace, Watertown. And I am here with my neighbor to discuss the possibility of a public-private collaboration for the treatment of Lake Victoria, Hayden Pond, the Brickyard, whichever name we choose to use. This just seems to be more use since there has been invitation for the community to kind of come along on the side that says, welcome to the Brickyard. We are seeing a lot of use as far as nice things, kids fishing, kayaking. We have for the past, myself, 30 years have taken care of the management of hiring a private company that would get the DNR permit and also treat the pond so that it would be aesthetically beautiful for our homes, but also usable for the public use that we're seeing now. Most recently, we saw the fire department when it was iced over doing some rescue plans and training on it. And I think that it bodes that it is really open to the public. And our hope is that rather than the burden fiscally fall on 10 homes that surround Lake Victoria, we're finding now that many of our neighbors are aging out. Some homes have been sold and people that are moving in are opting not to pay. And we're thinking that could we come to some type of collaborative arrangement where the city might enter into their budget some funds that could help offset the cost. Because right now our contracts say that Lake Victoria is a 1 lake, 5-acre lake, but I don't know that that's absolutely true when you are, like there's signs that welcome other people to come over now. And I believe at one point, if I'm not mistaken, that the Hayden Pond was renamed the Brickyard, and the Brickyard has signage up there that's welcoming people to come and enjoy the walkway, as well as all the things that come along with being on the water. So that's what our wish is for tonight. We most recently sent in our money to pay the DNR to get a permit to treat the pond, which will start immediately. But this is our second meeting here. The last one was tabled because there was discussion, and we're just hoping that it could get another consideration for it to be budgeted in one of the departments to be part of their budget to help with offsetting the cost for treatment.
All right, thank you. Anyone else like to address the commission at this time? All right, thank you.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
I got a call from Linda Hepp today. She also had asked about the city helping out with the cost of the.
Well, we do have an item later on the agenda.
Okay,
So our first action item is to review and approve the minutes from April 22nd. Go ahead.
I would make a motion to approve.
Okay.
I would second that.
By Mr. Moldenauer, moved.
I do have
By
a-
Mr. Thompson. Any comments or corrections?
Mr. Arnett, I do have a correction though, under number 5. The award rebidding on Plaza Phase 2 88 concrete ramp. About 6 lines down there says Mr. Blanky also asked why alternative B was recommended. I actually did that. I asked why alternate B was Richie Piltz, why it was recommended, so
Apologies.
it's okay.
Would you accept that as a friendly amendment?
Yes.
You also have a typo in there that I'll trust. So,
Okay, thanks.
any other comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. So our next item is to review and take possible action on setting a public hearing date of May 21st for the Public Service Commission rate case findings and recommendations. So again, all we're here to do this evening is to set the public hearing date. It's not to discuss that rate case. We will have that opportunity at a later meeting. Again, all we're here to do this evening is to set the date. Do I hear a motion to set the public hearing date for May 21st?
Mr. Ordiner,
Is that, please,
I'll make the motion to.
I'll second that.
is that date correct? Because that's a Wednesday.
That is correct.
And I read it's virtual.
Yes, that was through the PSC. That's what they do.
So it won't even be hours, really.
Right.
Okay. So I have a motion from Mr. Parks and a second from Mr. Boldenauer. Comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Next item up is to review and take possible action on awarding the base bid for the ultraviolet disinfection system to Trojan Technologies.
Okay, thank you. This project dates back to 2023, where we were looking to replace the UV system at the wastewater treatment plant. It was put on hold as the prices came in well over budget. And after that, that sparked the requirement to do the facilities plan update, which Applied Technologies has done. And so this project was pulled out of that study as the immediate need. Those of you who remember when we discussed this last year, we had some immediate needs. This was one of the projects, the ultraviolet system. So we put that out to public bid with Applied Technologies, who had already begun that project. We received one bid. We weren't surprised by that due to the restrictions of the system and the channel that it fits inside. And the number came in less than 2 years ago, which was quite a surprise. The only thing that I want to mention here is they did make a mention that they're not sure about the tariffs. This is a system made in Canada. They did explain how they ship their parts to the US suppliers, and they have a way to get around the tariffs at this time, but they're not certain. But after reviewing the bid and the specifications for the system, I am recommending that we award the ultraviolet disinfection system base bid to Trojan Technologies for a total of $745,720. And this is just the equipment. So we needed to purchase the equipment ahead of time because it's a 20 to 24 week lead time. We are restricted for construction during the off season, which starts October 1st through the winter, and we need to be back online by the end of April. May 1st is the official start date, but we would like to get it up and running April 1st. So this meets the timeline that we were looking at last year.
All right,
I'd make a motion to accept the base bid of Trojan Technologies for the ultraviolet disinfection system for a total of $745,720.
do I hear a second?
I'll second that.
Mr. Thompson, second by Mr. Boldenauer. Comments or questions on the motion? Hearing none, All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Go back, documents are rather long.
Should be a return to top.
All right, our next item is to review and approve the 2024 Compliance Maintenance Annual Report for the wastewater utility permit to discharge.
Thank you. I'll just briefly go over this. I was included in your packet, so this is an annual report, a grading, if you will, of the wastewater treatment permit in the sense of all of our compliance issues that we have to deal with, including the collection system. So the one thing I want to bring to your attention, as in the last couple of years, is that we are over the influent BOD biological oxygen demand concentrations. We had 11 months over 90% of the plant design and 9 months of influent BOD over 100% of the plant design. That is not necessarily a bad thing, seeing as that our effluent is meeting our permitted limits routinely and without issue. Part of this was the reason why we had to do the upgrade in the facilities plan because of the number of times we've been over on our design loadings. So the new facilities plan, which hasn't officially been accepted by DNR, does show that we are able to treat more influent BOD, which is in part due to the staff that we have and our understanding of how to run the plant, and the fact that things change over time. So again, the plant effluent looks very good. We meet in our permits. But because of that influent BOD overload, we scored an F in that section grade, which is not good, obviously. We were A's in every other section. So what we need this commission to do, and I have that in my recommendation, is we include a statement in the resolution. This does need passage by resolution. And I'll read the statement out loud. Whereas the Public Works Commission has recommended the following action regarding influent BOD design exceedance for loading, to continue working with our engineering consultant who is actively engaged with the facilities plan update regarding plant design parameters for BOD, and to continue supporting wastewater utility staff with equipment and infrastructure improvements when and where necessary, pending available funding. So I do recommend forwarding a resolution to the city council, including that statement of whereas, which is the last whereas in the draft resolution.
All right. Can I first have a motion on this item so we can then discuss it?
This MAR report, the 2024 CMAR report to the Watertown City Council,
All right,
including specific mention of the action of the wastewater utility tried to conduct. That statement here.
okay.
I'll second that.
All right, comments or questions on the motion? Is there anyone else that we should have review that resolution before it goes to council in terms of by the consultants or the DNR or anything like that?
It's pretty much the same as the last 2 years with that statement. It does get an overview. I can also pass it through City Attorney Cheesebro. But I did go over it with Applied Technologies, and that whereas statement does suffice for what we need to include.
Okay, that's right.
Yes.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye. Opposed? Motion carries. the next item, I actually had it labeled as no action proposed, but we will go ahead and discuss that, which was the Lake Victoria vegetation control request, and you have a series of documents. Starting on page 126 of your packet. That provide the background on it. The important things since the last time this was reviewed by this commission. The city attorney, I'll call owner, question of ownership was raised. So the city attorney has determined the city does not have any claims of Lake Victoria. And actually the lake would belong to the state of Wisconsin and not to the city. City staff, you can see the notes about meeting to do this overall topic during policy. And then you see that currently we do not have any budget set aside to do this. And also then call your attention to next memo. Which has the recommendation from staff. Recommends denying the request for assistance. Chemical control of vegetation could negatively impact the sporting and recreational opportunities. Additional vegetation control is not currently within the budget. And then lastly, draw your attention to the minutes from, this is not the first time this has come before the city. We have the minutes from the Parks and Recreation Commission from the year 2000, in which a similar request was heard and denied. Any additional comments from staff?
No, sir, not at this time.
Commission members, what is your interest in this item?
I have a question.
Yes.
So Andrew, it looks like as you're preparing to develop some kind of policy on this, that there are a number of areas within the city that might have an interest in the vegetation management, including the parks, and then it looks like the stormwater. How would we go about managing that as a city?
Correct. So some of these areas are currently being managed. For example, our stormwater management facilities. If they're city-owned, our city crews are managing vegetation, or we're hiring a third-party consultant contractor to do that vegetation management work. Our ditches, similar situation where city crews maintain vegetation of city-owned ditches, but there's a lot of areas in parks where, you know, we may maintain it, just historically, it's just not documented in a policy. So it's wrapping all of those areas into one document that we can kind of go off of going forward. But it would encompass many areas.
If I could follow on a follow-on question, you very specifically mentioned city-owned stormwater management facilities.
Correct.
Because there are retention ponds and similar structures that are not city-owned, is that correct?
There are several, yes, and those privately owned stormwater facilities are inspected and notices are given with maintenance items, but the city currently does not manage those.
In that case, I know of several developments that have those in place, and it is essentially the developer's responsibility to maintain that. They work through a variety of methods, but it's not the city's expense to maintain that facility.
Yes.
Facility, but it's retention pond.
Yep, that's correct.
And that includes vegetation management around that too, so that you don't have the things blocking and clogging.
Right.
All right.
Yep.
Other comments or questions from commission members, please?
Mr. Chairman, just a question. So this is actually privately owned by the owners.
not city owned.
Okay, so the owners own this lake.
That's what the note is about from the city attorney. Technically speaking, in the state of Wisconsin, there are public waterways that are owned by default by the state.
That's correct.
But then if this is privately owned, then anybody that is not living in, around that lake technically shouldn't be able to use that lake either.
So again, the lake itself is, according to the Wisconsin Constitution, owned by the state. By the state. The lake is owned by the state. And there are similar rules in place at the state level to allow public access to public waterways.
Well, it just seems to me if the public can utilize this lake and it would benefit the public, but the owner's got to pay for taking care of it, that just doesn't seem right to me. That's my personal view.
So to the best of my understanding of the issue, there is not a legal requirement for the property owners to be engaging in the type of care that they have been doing and are proposing to continue doing. So nobody is telling them that they have to do.
So they
that.
could just not spray and do anything. Okay.
But yeah, otherwise I would agree with you. There'd be a little bit of a catch-22 there.
Is this a closed meeting? No. I'm a little puzzled, and I know you probably are too, because it's the city of Watertown's storm sewer that has been fueling the vegetation in this enclosed quarry. I've lived on the property for 72 years, so I've seen it as it's changed throughout the years. The clarity is still there with the water, but the vegetation is being fed by fertilizers and runoffs from the city's roads and property developments. And it's not, when you talk about ponds that have been done as retention ponds for, say, a condominium development or something of that nature, that's totally different than how this quarry was established to create a lot of the Watertown buildings. We see the Cream City brick. That's how that quarry originated, became a brickyard because it made the
Yeah,
Cream City
thank you.
brick.
I appreciate
And I'm
that.
sorry.
perspective. Yeah. So we're gonna keep the conversation here at the commission level at this
Okay.
stage. Commission members, other comments or questions?
Well, that's my personal view anyway. So. I would feel the city could help out there in some way.
I think one of the challenges with that would be in the absence of having established rules around that, we're creating a precedent that then anyone with this can make a similar claim. And while we may think that this is a unique circumstance, there'll be plenty of other people saying that mine is the same circumstance as that. So I think there's a risk of doing that in the absence of that kind of guideline that would make it very clear. So I think if we were truly interested in doing it, then the first thing we should look at is creating a policy that would provide the guidelines around that and make it very clear to everyone when we are and when we aren't, and to what extent we are and aren't.
Just a further question, Andrew, on it looks like your recommendation, part of your recommendation here is to come up with a comprehensive draft policy. Is that something that you might be planning to complete before the 26 budgeting?
Yeah,
Be in
it
effect
is.
for that if we need to budget something.
Correct. Yeah, we met as staff. We've assigned homework and we're hoping to kind of come back together and review some drafts in the near term. So by 2026 budget time, we should have something kind of firmed up there.
Okay, thank you.
And again, in light of that, the comment I just made, I think that's the best way for us to focus that. Let's get the policy established first, and then we can look at the implications of that policy, both from a cost and a coverage perspective. And we can have clarity, I think, better clarity on weighing this request appropriately. So. Molnar?
No, go ahead.
Okay, so that doesn't require any action, but at this time by the board, because the staff already has that direction, they're already pursuing the development of that policy, as we just heard. So they'll bring that back to us for review and consideration.
Correct.
And can we just make we could have one point person. They could be the point person, and when we have that policy drafted, we could reach out to the neighbors there to inform of that consideration, and you could have a chance to weigh in at that point too, also on the development of that policy.
I really don't know the rules that I will
Please. Yep.
forward, but I appreciate that about the stormwater because it does name Lake Victoria with all of the other waterways there in the city. Right on. So I appreciate that you look at, from what other vein you could look at that. But we are listed as part of, it's private, really. All of the city waterways.
And again, to clarify, the lake itself is owned by the state of Wisconsin. That's a public waterway. So I just want to make sure that's all very clear understood. It's not a private lake. That is a public, state-owned body of water.
Just ask where I find that out, find out that information. I'm sorry, I can't ask any question.
I can follow up with our city attorney on that, on how he came to that determination. Generally, surface water is permitted and owned by the state of Wisconsin.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing that's where the,
Surface water, I'm sorry, I missed that term.
sure, surface water. So creeks, rivers, lakes are generally owned, and the state of Wisconsin serves as the permitting authority as well.
Private or, a business quarry or whatever.
Sure, I think this would fall into the lake category, but I don't know.
Yeah, it doesn't have so much to do with its historical use as its current condition. All right. There are no other motions on this item, then we will proceed. Okay. So again, staff will continue to develop that policy with the goal of bringing in time for us to consider it prior to the 2026 budget. All right. Our next item is to review and take action regarding 1013 South Fifth Street, public right-of-way improvements. Please.
All right, so the prospective developer of 1013 South Fifth Street is requesting access to their property via an unimproved gravel portion of the public right-of-way of South Fifth Street. About 110 linear feet of right-of-way is unimproved and is currently in a gravel condition. For public access to be provided from a right-of-way, city standards need to be met for those improvements, which includes grading, pavement, curb and gutter, sewer and water improvements, and then drainage infrastructure improvements. The proposed development of 1013 South Fifth Street has been reviewed by both the Site Plan Review Committee and the Plan Commission. Both committees have recommended approval of the project conditional upon determining the right-of-way improvement. So just figuring out kind of who does what with the right-of-way improvements to provide access to this parcel of land. So the matter of project administration and funding responsibility for those improvements was communicated to the subdivider before this item came to site plan review and plan commission. So the subdivider was aware of those requirements at the time of subdivision. Per code, subdividers are generally responsible for constructing and dedicating public infrastructure like roadways, sidewalks, utility, drainage improvements, curb and gutter associated with new land divisions. Improvements must be substantially completed and acceptance before issuance of building permits. That's in a new development situation where a subdivision is created, subdivided, and the public improvements are constructed and then dedicated to the city before building permits are issued. Code does provide some flexibility regarding how improvements are funded. Right-of-way improvement costs have historically been borne by the subdivider or developer. So this request involves infill developments rather than a conventional new subdivision. To date, staff isn't aware of a project where the city has used public funds to construct roadway improvements in a similar infill development scenario. So allowing public funding in this instance may establish a precedent and shift future expectations regarding the city's role in providing access to private development sites through unimproved public right-of-way. So giving these considerations, staff is requesting direction from the commission in two key areas. One being public administration. Should the right-of-way improvements be administered and constructed by the city? Or should the developer be required to complete utility and roadway construction independently? The latter would require a development agreement that we'd have to go through additional steps to get finalized and approved. The second would be funding responsibility. The estimated cost with design and construction of this unimproved right-of-way to city standard is about $110,000. There's a site map and a section of chapter 545, which is the subdivision code, in your packet as a reference. The recommendation at this time is just looking for guidance on how to proceed here.
All right, without a specific action to recommend, we'll just open up to discussion. I guess I'd like to make the first few comments. My perspective is a subdivision is a subdivision is a subdivision. Doesn't matter where it is, doesn't matter how big it is. Subdivision. And if we suddenly are creating new rules here where if it's quote unquote infill, we're treating it differently. I can tell you that every other developer coming before us is going to say, well, mine's infill too. Mine's infill too. We're all infill. You're going to pay for it, right? So I just think this one let's just not even go here. That's my reaction. But how the rest of y'all think? Lawrence?
I was just gonna ask a little bit more information about what's being developed here. So I mean, the information in the packet is somewhat vague.
Sure. So Bruce Loeb subdivided this and he had a prospective developer at 1013 South Fifth Street for a warehouse for some band equipment. So it's the band, I can't think of the name, Heritage Band on South 4th Street.
Okay.
They'd be looking to store some equipment at this warehouse site. So it's essentially a pole barn with some metal siding, some architectural improvements there, but largely a storage facility.
So do they want connections to city utilities? Is that what?
They'll be required by code.
Well, if it's an empty warehouse, I didn't.
Still.
There are other storage sheds in that area that don't use.
They were built under
Any
current
utilities.
standards, they would.
Well, they're not. There's if they're just for storage, they don't have to have utilities.
I'm just not sure if you can have a
There's fire.
accessory use building on without a principal use building. Storage is an accessory use, not a principal use. I don't know. That's my thought. It would appear that there's opportunity to develop other parcels once this road is extended to the middle of 1013, 1019, and whatever is to the west of this parcel. Is that true?
That's correct. And there has been some interest in at least two other parcels of this subdivided area that might be looking to develop.
And those developments may warrant or start a lot of public use traffic to those parcels. A band storage building that may be used once a week, if that, is different than somebody who may have a body shop that would have activity. So
which
The
is great.
improvement would need to happen, I'm for sure. I don't see that it can remain gravel or unimproved. Now, to the benefit of those that access it, should fall the cost to install it. So my thought would be that the city would not be involved in that as any other development throughout the city.
As I understand it, South Fifth Street extends beyond this 110-foot section that we're talking about improving.
It,
If,
it doesn't, it dead ends at the end of that green hatched area.
Okay. It's not, the picture here shows it extending farther, so.
No, that's the parcel of 1019. It's got a little bit of an elbow.
And I believe the railroad tracks are immediately south of that parcel.
So if we don't improve this, the only alternative is for them to improve it. We can't continue to use it as a, I believe right now it's just a gravel extension there, isn't it?
It is gravel extension. It looks like there's a private sanitary sewer lateral that extends into one of the parcels, or 6 inch. Okay. No water. So we'd have to do some utility improvements, or the developer would have to do utility improvements. We could explore, I don't know if it's even worth considering. Generally, the administration would, of a project like this would fall to a developer through a development agreement.
Any comments? Moldenauer? So what is the commission's inclination? Somebody want to make a motion?
It's another question. This wouldn't happen to fall in any TID that we have.
I believe it falls within TID 7. I'm unaware of the balance in that TID. But if that's something you'd like us to explore as far as available funding in the TID, I can bring this back.
I mean, that is an instance where there's public funds used to create development potential with roads and streets. I'm thinking around Walmart, that was a TID. Everything out there was constructed prior to. If it's a possibility, I think it would be worth knowing if it's in one for sure, if there's a balance available too.
And especially if it would, if it would, help with further development in the area. It would be a selling point to use the TID funding.
And it would have.
5 and 6, 7.
What was that?
Oh. I've 1 for 7. But under that circumstance, then it's incumbent upon the developer to come back and propose basically an exchange.
Yes.
For them, it's for them to make a request upon the TID. I would think it would, we've rarely run full steam ahead of something.
No, I mean, there should be an impetus to
Yeah.
start the review, the
Yeah.
request.
So, yeah, they would need to make the request
Yes.
under that circumstance and make the request through that mechanism of the TID. So it'd still be my recommendation that we deny this request, and if they want to come back and request under the auspices of a TID, then they should do that separately, rather than us kind of redirecting.
Or would you want to learn if it's in or not in a TID before we make the decision to not
I can
fund it?
find that
Pull up
out.
the map, should be on
Sure.
the GIS.
Yep. It does fall within TID 7.
Did I make that motion? Mention? But coming back or?
What, so again, my suggestion would be that we deny this request. If
Right.
they want to make a request on the auspice of the TID, that's really, there's a separate process for that. And that would be like, we deny this request. If they want to come back and request it under the TID, then let's run that through the appropriate process.
Right.
It doesn't usually come through this body.
That's finance. committee
Yes, it's
stuff.
finance. So that's why I would suggest that way. So under that circumstance, if somebody wants to make a motion to deny this request, then that would be the appropriate action.
I would make the motion to deny this.
I would second that.
Good question, though.
I guess the opportunity to go through a TID would allow or create the possibility of a legal cul-de-sac turnaround for all that, whereby possibly dedication from all three benefiting properties could dedicate a bulb, because the extension onto 1019 South Fifth Street would not be buildable because of setback issues. So that little area to the south is unbuildable. And to have possibly three parcels use that, it should have a legal turnaround.
Yeah.
So if the TID is available, I'd support that.
Okay. So the motion is to deny this request. But then it's also noted that perhaps the developer wants to explore the TID process. Any other comments or questions on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Our last item is to review and take possible action on sidewalk repair order for 207 Clark Street. Again, a pretty standard item. The property's been identified along the way.
Motion to approve the sidewalk repair order for 207 Clark Street.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Yep.
Thank you. Comments or questions on the motion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. There being no other business before the body this evening, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Seconded, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. We stand adjourned at 6:14. Thank you.
Thank you.